December 12, 1944, Third Army Headquarters. Colonel Oscar Koch briefed Patton on disturbing intelligence. German radio traffic in the Ardennes had increased dramatically. Elite SS Panzer units had vanished from tracking. Prisoners mentioned unusual night movements. Belgian resistance reported heavy vehicle traffic through forests. Koch had tracked these indicators for weeks. The pattern was unmistakable. Something big was coming. Patton studied maps showing the Ardennes forest. 4 American divisions held a front requiring 12, inexperienced units in terrain perfect for concealing attacks. Patton had seen this before. In 1940, Germans smashed through this forest and reached the Channel in 6 weeks. The script was repeating. Nobody paid attention except him. Koch finished his briefing and waited. Schaff intelligence said Germany was finished. Every analyst agreed major offensives were impossible. Yet Koch's data told a different story. Patton made his decision. Finalize contingency plans. If Germans attacked through the Ardennes, Third Army would disengage, rotate 90 degrees and counterattack. Koch left to brief staff. Patton had decided to warn Eisenhower directly. If headquarters would not listen to intelligence reports, maybe they would listen to a direct warning. It was a gamble that could make him look prescient or paranoid. He was taking it anyway. December 13th. Patton convened his corps commanders. Eddy, Milliken, Walker gathered expecting routine updates. Instead, Patton warned them. The Germans will attack through the Ardennes within days. We will stop them. Prepare to disengage and move north on 48 hours' notice. The commanders exchanged confused glances. They were advancing into the Saar, German resistance collapsing. Why prepare for a German offensive 100 miles north? Eddy asked the obvious question. Sir, intelligence says Germany cannot mount offensives. Where is this coming from? Patton's answer was blunt. From me. I have studied Germans for 30 years. I know how they think. Right now they are thinking about one last gamble through the Ardennes. The commanders left skeptical but obedient. Patton had been right too often to dismiss completely. They alerted units quietly. Be ready for sudden northern movement. No explanation given. Patton drafted a message requesting urgent meeting with Bradley. He needed to brief superiors before the attack came. Time was running out. December 14th, Eisenhower's headquarters, Versailles. Patton arrived with Koch's intelligence and his own assessment. The atmosphere was relaxed, almost festive, staff discussing Christmas arrangements, the war winding down. Then Patton interrupted. The Germans will attack through the Ardennes within 72 hours, major offensive, multiple armies, aimed at splitting our forces and reaching Antwerp. We must prepare immediately. The reaction shocked him. General Kenneth Strong actually laughed. General Patton, this is unsupported by intelligence. Germany lacks fuel for sustained operations, lacks armor reserves, lacks manpower, lacks tactical surprise. A major offensive would require resources Germany does not possess. Strong pulled out reports. Every indicator showed German retreat. Every assessment concluded offensive capability exhausted. The consensus was total. Germany could not attack. Patton tried presenting Koch's findings about missing panzers and increased radio traffic. Strong dismissed them as insignificant variations. Reading too much into routine data was how analysts saw threats that did not exist. Professional intelligence meant following evidence. The evidence was clear. Germany was finished. Bradley softened the rejection. George, I understand concern, but we cannot reorganize based on speculation. Intelligence does not support major German offensive. Focus on your current mission. Patton pushed back. Brad, I am not speculating. I am reading patterns everyone else misses. Germans did this in 1940, through the same forest. They are desperate now. Hitler will gamble everything. The Ardennes is where he will do it. Montgomery's liaison spoke with British condescension. Field Marshal's assessment concurs with Schaff. German capabilities exhausted. This American alarmism is not helpful. Patton turned directly to Eisenhower. Ike, I am telling you clearly. Germans attack within 3 days. My army is preparing to respond. Alert all Ardennes units. Position reserves for deployment. Eisenhower faced a difficult choice. He trusted Patton's instincts but also trusted intelligence staff, who unanimously contradicted Patton. Every professional assessment said Germany could not attack. Patton was brilliant, but known for dramatic pronouncements. Was this strategic insight or imagined threats? Eisenhower decided. George, I appreciate concerns, but we rely on intelligence assessments, not hunches. Continue current operations. If situation changes, we respond accordingly. The meeting ended. Patton left, knowing he had failed. As he walked out, he told his aide American soldiers would pay for headquarters blindness. Reality was about to collide with comfortable consensus. December 15th. Patton returned to Third Army headquarters and called staff together. Execute contingency plans immediately. I do not care what Schaff says. German attack comes tomorrow or the day after. We will be ready. Staff had learned to trust Patton's instincts. Orders went out. Units alerted for rapid movement. Supply officers repositioned fuel and ammunition. Artillery designated for quick displacement north. Everything done quietly without contradicting Schaff assessment. Third Army preparing for a battle that officially could not happen, Patton wrote in his diary. I warned them repeatedly. They refused to believe. Germans will attack through Ardennes. When they do, I will be ready even if nobody else is. History will judge who was right. That same day in the Ardennes, American soldiers noticed unusual German activity. More patrols, coordinated artillery, vehicle movement at night. Reports filtered up and were dismissed. December 16th, 5:30 a.m. The forest exploded. Artillery fire along 80 miles. German guns pounded American positions. Then infantry, then tanks. 3 German armies, 200,000 men, smashed into 4 divisions. Soldiers enjoying quiet sector, suddenly fighting for survival. Entire battalions overrun in hours. The 106th Division lost 2 regiments, largest American surrender since Bataan. German armor raced west toward the Meuse. At Schaff, first reports seemed impossible. Major German offensive. Intelligence said this could not happen. Initial assessments dismissed attacks as local counteroffensives. Hours passed before the scale became clear. Full strategic offensive involving multiple armies. Germany had found resources, achieved surprise, and threatened to split Allied armies. The impossible was happening. At Third Army headquarters, Patton received reports with grim satisfaction rather than surprise. Called staff immediately. Happening exactly as predicted. Germans launched offensive through Ardennes. Execute our plans. Third Army attacks north and hits their flank. Everything we prepared is now operational. Officers who thought their commander paranoid now understood. Patton had been right. Completely precisely right. He predicted location, timing, objective. More importantly, he prepared. While other formations scrambled to understand, Third Army was already moving, units disengaging from SAR, supply convoys redirecting, artillery displacing. Contingency plans developed over weeks being executed with precision. One general refused comfortable consensus. His army was the only one ready to respond immediately. December 17th. German offensive continued momentum. Bastogne surrounded. American units fought desperate defense. Confusion at higher headquarters. How did intelligence miss this? Where did Germany find resources? How did they achieve surprise? Eisenhower called emergency conference for December 19th in Verdun. He needed commanders to coordinate response to worst crisis since D-Day. Privately, he understood one general had warned him. Patton had been right. Eisenhower dismissed the warning as paranoia. American soldiers now dying because headquarters ignored the commander who saw clearly. Bradley was equally shaken. He called Patton's concerns impossible. Now that mission was abandoned, as Third Army raced north to save situation. Intelligence failure would be studied for decades. Personal failures felt more immediate. Commanders who mocked Patton's warnings now depended on his foresight. Strong, the intelligence chief who laughed at Patton's assessment, scrambled to understand how every analysis was catastrophically wrong. German capabilities that did not exist according to reports were destroying American divisions. December 19th, Verdun Conference. Eisenhower gathered commanders in grim atmosphere, situation desperate. German spearheads 50 miles into Allied lines. Bastogne surrounded. If Germans reached Meuse and pushed to Antwerp, they could split armies and force negotiations. Eisenhower opened by trying to maintain morale. Present situation is opportunity, not disaster. Everyone knew they faced catastrophe. Eisenhower asked critical question: how long before someone attacks north to relieve Bastogne and hit German flank? Other commanders studied maps and calculated logistics. Week minimum, maybe longer. Then Patton spoke with impossible confidence. I can attack December 22nd with 3 divisions. The room went silent. Other generals stared. Was Patton serious? To disengage, rotate 90 degrees and attack in 72 hours was operationally impossible, unless you had been planning for exactly this. Patton's next words stunned the room. I have 3 complete contingency plans for German Ardennes offensive. Staff working on this since early December. We execute immediately. Shocked breathing was the only sound. Bull, who dismissed Patton's warnings days earlier, asked quietly, You planned for this? Of course I planned for this, Patton replied. I told all of you it was coming. You called me paranoid. But I believed my analysis, so I prepared. Now we execute. Eisenhower studied Patton carefully. Bravado was gone. This was cold certainty backed by preparation. Eisenhower decided, All right, George, relieve Bastogne and hit their flank. You have operational freedom. After the meeting, Eisenhower pulled Chief of Staff aside. George warned us repeatedly. We dismissed him as paranoid. Now soldiers pay for our complacency. Thank God he trusted judgment enough to prepare despite ridicule. December 20th. Third Army fully committed to northern movement. 4th Armored Division led attack toward Bastogne. Behind them, infantry divisions. Movement that should require a week happening in days, because every route planned, every supply point positioned, every contingency considered. German commanders shocked by American response speed. Intelligence predicted slow, disorganized response. Instead, entire army appeared on their southern flank within days. Von Manteuffel, commanding 5th Panzer, could not understand how American forces fighting 100 miles away suddenly attacked his flank. Staff had no explanation. Movement seemed impossible. They did not know one general had been preparing before they launched. December 22nd. Third Army attacked as Patton promised. 4th Armored drove through German defenses toward Bastogne, fighting brutal. Every mile contested. But Third Army kept advancing because logistics worked. Fuel reached combat units. Ammunition resupplied fighting elements. Supply system planned weeks earlier, functioned under combat. Inside Bastogne, 101st Airborne held against overwhelming odds. Low on everything but high on determination. When Germans demanded surrender, McAuliffe sent famous reply. Nuts. Paratroopers knew relief coming. They could hear Third Army fighting closer. December 26th, 4:50 p.m. Lieutenant Boggis in lead tank Cobra King broke through last German positions at Eisenhower. Contact with 101st Airborne. Siege broken. Patton kept his promise. Third Army executed impossible maneuver because their commander saw impossible attack coming. Word spread through Allied command. Patton did it. Relieved Bastogne in timeline promised. More importantly, ready, because he prepared before German offensive began. The general everyone called paranoid had been the only one right, every intelligence assessment wrong. Every professional analysis missed the threat. Every senior commander dismissed warnings. Only Patton saw clearly, prepared thoroughly, executed decisively. Vindication was total and undeniable. Strong, who laughed at Patton's warning 12 days earlier, forced to acknowledge complete intelligence failure. German capabilities that supposedly did not exist just launched largest Western Front offensive. Everything Patton predicted happened exactly as he said. Bradley called Patton after Bastogne relieved. You were right, George, about everything. I should have listened. Patton's response gracious but pointed. What matters now is we stopped them. But many soldiers died because nobody believed the warning. Next time maybe people will pay attention. Montgomery, who dismissed concerns as hysteria, said nothing publicly. Privately, staff noted Patton's foresight demonstrated strategic vision professional intelligence missed. British command reassessed how they evaluated commander input versus staff analysis. Sometimes the field commander sees what headquarters analysts miss. Eisenhower issued orders that Third Army receive priority in supply and reinforcement. Patton's forces saved Allied position. They deserved whatever support would help complete mission. But Eisenhower also sent personal note. "Your foresight saved us, George. I should have listened when you warned me. I will not make that mistake again." German perspective confirmed everything Patton predicted. Captured officers revealed offensive planned for weeks with elaborate secrecy. They counted on Allied complacency and intelligence blindness. Achieved complete surprise except for one general whose preparation disrupted their timeline. Von Rundstedt, overall commander, admitted Third Army's rapid response was completely unexpected. "We calculated Americans would require a week minimum to organize counterattacks. Instead, they hit our flank in 4 days, forced us to divert forces that should have been pushing to Meuse." Von Manteuffel was specific about Patton. He understood warfare the way German generals understand it, as psychology and preparation, not just logistics. If more American commanders thought like him, war would have ended months earlier. The battle continued for weeks, but crisis had passed. German momentum broken. Their offensive that should have split Allied armies became their final strategic defeat in the West. Cost was horrific. Over 19 UAW Americans killed, another 47 UAW wounded, more than 23 UAW captured or missing. German casualties exceeded 100 UAW. Bloodiest battle America fought in Europe. But casualties would have been far worse without Patton's warning and preparation. If Third Army had not been ready to respond immediately, Germans might have reached Meuse. Bastogne might have fallen. Allied front might have collapsed. Patton's paranoia saved countless lives by preparing for disaster. Everyone else refused to believe possible. Intelligence failure became case study at every military school. How did professional analysts miss something so obvious in retrospect? Indicators were there: missing panzers, increased radio traffic, prisoner reports, Belgian warnings. But analysts filtered every indicator through assumption Germany could not attack. They saw what they expected rather than what evidence showed. Only Patton approached evidence without assumptions. He asked what Germans would do if desperate, rather than what they could do by rational calculation. Years later, historians studied Patton's prediction extensively. Consensus was his success came from combining factors other commanders lacked. He studied German history and doctrine deeply enough to understand their thinking. He analyzed 1940 Ardennes offensive and recognized parallels. He had psychological insight into how desperate leaders make desperate decisions. He had moral courage to trust judgment against unanimous disagreement. Most importantly, he acted on convictions by preparing his army before threat materialized. Intelligence without preparation is just prediction. Patton turned prediction into readiness, and readiness into decisive action. Eisenhower wrote in his memoir that Patton's Ardennes warning was finest example of strategic intuition he witnessed. George combined historical knowledge, psychological insight, and tactical preparation in ways transcending conventional intelligence analysis. We failed him by dismissing warnings. Soldiers paid the price. Bradley acknowledged his mistake directly. "I called George paranoid when he warned about Ardennes, told him to stop worrying about impossible threats. Then impossible happened exactly as predicted. I learned sometimes the paranoid general is only one seeing reality clearly. Military wisdom requires ignoring professional consensus and trusting commander who studied enemy longest and deepest. Strong, whose intelligence failure was most direct, wrote Patton, taught him limits of technical analysis. We collected excellent data, analyzed professionally, but filtered everything through assumptions about what was possible rather than what enemy might attempt. Patton filtered analysis through understanding of enemy psychology and desperation. His approach proved superior. Modern military doctrine now emphasizes commander's intuition alongside technical intelligence. Staff analysis provides data. Commander's judgment interprets through experience. Both necessary. Ardennes showed what happens when organizations rely only on staff analysis and dismiss commander's warnings. Veterans who fought in Bulge remembered Patton's role with gratitude. A 101st soldier wrote after war that Patton's preparation saved their lives. We were surrounded at Bastogne expecting to die or surrender. Then Third Army broke through faster than anyone thought possible. We learned later Patton had been planning that rescue before we were even surrounded. He saw a whole battle coming when nobody else did. That is why we survived. Third Army soldiers who executed impossible 90-degree turn New success came from preparation ordered weeks earlier. They practiced rapid deployment, pre-positioned supplies, developed contingency plans. When moment came, they executed with precision, because Patton prepared them for battle everyone said would never happen. General nobody believed turned paranoia into preparation and preparation into victory. Patton himself rarely discussed his prediction after war, wrote in diary that being right when everyone was wrong brought no satisfaction. What mattered was foresight had allowed Third Army to respond quickly and save lives. That was what command meant, seeing threats others missed and preparing despite skepticism. In final months before death, December 1945, Patton reflected on Ardennes lessons, wrote to friend that experience confirmed his approach. Trust your judgment from deep study and experience. Do not let consensus override what you know true. Prepare for threats that seem impossible, because impossible things happen in war. Most importantly, understand enemy well enough to think like them. I was right about Ardennes because I understood how desperate Germans think. Everyone else analyzed logistics and capabilities. I analyzed psychology and desperation. Psychology won. Story of Patton's warning became legend in military circles. General Everyone, called paranoid, had been only one right. Warning everyone dismissed was exactly accurate. Preparation everyone thought excessive saved Allied position in Europe's deadliest battle. Paranoia became prescience. Ridicule became vindication. 3 days of warning that seemed like madness became difference between disaster and recovery. That is burden of being right when everyone else is wrong. You must trust yourself absolutely because nobody else will trust you until reality proves you correct. Transformation of Patton's reputation after Bulge was significant. Before December 16th, many considered him brilliant tactician but strategically impulsive. After Bastogne, they recognized commander with strategic vision exceeding conventional analysis. Aggressive tactics backed by deep historical knowledge and psychological insight. Bold pronouncements based on careful study and pattern recognition. Seemingly paranoid warnings from understanding enemies better than professional intelligence did. 3 days between warning and attack haunted those who dismissed him. 3 days to alert units, position reserves, prepare defenses. 3 days that might have reduced casualties or limited German penetration. But those days were wasted because nobody believed paranoid general who was catastrophically right. Lesson resonated through military establishments for decades. Listen to commanders who studied enemy deeply, even when warnings contradict staff assessments. Paranoia rooted in knowledge is better than complacency rooted in wishful analysis. Patton's vindication was complete, but came at terrible cost. He had been right, everyone else wrong. His preparation saved Allied position, but thousands died in initial onslaught. His warnings might have mitigated if anyone listened. Satisfaction of being proved correct overwhelmed by grief for lives lost to institutional blindness. Patton never forgave commanders who dismissed warnings, never forgot soldiers paid with lives for headquarters complacency. Battle of Bulge ended in Allied victory. German offensive capability broken forever. War in Europe would end 5 months later. But for those who lived through December 1944, lesson remained vivid. One general saw disaster coming 3 days early. He warned everyone who would listen. Nobody listened. When disaster struck exactly as predicted, only his preparation prevented complete catastrophe. That is how Patton's paranoid warning saved the Bulge and proved everyone wrong. Not through luck or genius alone, but through knowledge, courage, and willingness to prepare for threats comfortable consensus insisted could not exist. The general they called paranoid was the only one who saw reality clearly, and his 3 days of warning that nobody believed became the difference between Allied disaster and eventual victory.